punch. And by the way, I think it's got something to do with the teams and the quarterbacks. You got Drake May and Sam Darnold. That's not really marquee names when it comes to selling the game. Right? I mean, yeah, Travis Swift and his girlfriend were one of the storylines in the ball game. And I'm like, yeah, well, okay, so there was more storyline. In this one here, you don't really have it. You know what you have? Can I tell you? I think you got people doing this. Holy shit, not again, the Patriots. Nobody's rooting for New England. No way. Because nobody wants to see this. They're back. The New England Patriots haven't sucked long enough for them to be back in this game. Usually when you go through a time where you've won a lot of games, you're not very good for an extended period of time. Some organizations never recover. Look at the Dolphins. Dolphins were iconic in the 70s. They've never been iconic since. They've never recovered from that. Okay, they've never been kind of during the Marino years, they were kind of good, but they weren't good enough. They got to one Super Bowl, I think in Marino's second year, maybe. I don't think they got there his first year. I think they got there his second year. And he was 23. Drake May's 23, by the way. Seals, Pats ain't played nobody. That was an easy path to the Super Bowl. I don't know, man. I mean, they were 9-0 on the road. And I don't subscribe to that. So get this. Now, Seattle has played, obviously, in the NFC West. So they're more primed and ready to play. So I would agree. Second year, thank you, Denny. Nobody cares. None of my friends are having a party. None of them. Yeah, I find that hard to believe that nobody in your home, Slacker, is going to watch it. So you're not going to watch the Super Bowl? None of your friends are having parties. Everybody has parties on Super Bowl Sunday. The Pats played top 5 defenses all through the playoffs. I will say this. I think that's a great number that Mark Holmes brought up, that all those coaches that were fired, those are teams that the Patriots played. So I think the Ravens take Peter Woods at 14. Yeah, we're going to start getting more into the draft next week. I love the draft. I do 3 a year, and guess what? With all the ones that I've suggested to you guys, they've all gone on to do. I told you if you took Bijan Robinson, that you would love the player. Sure enough, he's turned out to be a spectacular player. Do you remember I told you about Devin Lloyd? Devin Lloyd is a spectacular player. Remember I told you about the corner with Kansas City? I was right on that as well. Who else? I said that Jalen Carter would be a great pick. I told you that the kid that got Edrin Cooper from Texas A&M, that kid would be a great pick. He turned out to being a great pick for the Green Bay Packers, I believe. So there were McDuffie. If you remember right, Kyle, I told everyone, I said, you should draft this guy, McDuffie. I think this guy's going to be a spectacular player. And sure enough, he turned out to be an all-pro. So we're pretty good on this. I mean, we're good on the picks. And we because you know what I do? I actually ask and go through Bledsoe, and I'll talk to Alonzo Highsmith. I'll talk to Elliott Wolf of the Patriots. I talked to Dan Morgan of the Carolina Panthers. We talked to people. By the way, you know who a dear friend of mine is? It's Carl Dunbar. Carl Dunbar works out the defensive line at the combines. And Carl gives me kind of like, when I ask him, like, what do you make of this guy? What do you think of this guy? What do you make of him? I don't really like him that much, but I don't tell you which ones he doesn't like. But he gives me a list of his top 5 guys that he sees in the draft. And then I look at who they have. So I give you my assessment that way. Sills, when Jimmy went to coach Miami, which he butting heads with Marino, too stubborn to adapt Jimmy style. It's a great take. So, Denny, here's what happened. Jimmy Johnson went to Miami. And his first press conference, just so you know, Jimmy Johnson, out of retirement, he gets the Miami Dolphins job. His first press conference. Well, we're going to do a lot of things differently offensively, and we're going to energize the offense. Dan Marino was so offended by that. They were fourth in offense, that he was so offended that it started right there, the adversarial relationship. But Jimmy's contention was energizing meant giving Dan a running game. Marino never had a running game. He had one 1,000-yard rusher in 17 years in Miami. Jimmy thought that was atrocious, a shula, not to have a running game. There was one 1,000-yard back in his entire 17 years. And Marino was offended. And they butted heads. They brought in Gary Stevens, and they tried to create a zone running game. Dan would always audible out of the run plays, and it aggravated Jimmy. So Jimmy went upstairs to Bob Ackles, and they went to Wayne Huizinga, who owned the team at the time, and went to him and said, "We got to get rid of Dan Marino." Wayne Huizinga went, "Come again?" He goes, "We got to get rid of." He goes, "We got to get rid of Marino. We'll work the trade." Huizinga had given Jimmy total autonomy on personnel, like he had in Dallas. So he constructed a trade to send Dan Marino to Pittsburgh. The deal was in place. Jimmy goes up. He's going to make the call. Bob Ackles and him walk in. Bob Ackles was the Jimmy that helped build the team in Dallas. They walk in. Wayne Huizinga says no. Jimmy looked at him and said, "We'll never win then." And Huizinga goes, "He's our most popular player." Jimmy goes, "I traded the best player away in Herschel Walker, and we won 3 Super Bowls." And Wayne Huizinga said, "No." And there lies the story of why Marino never won. And if you remember Marino's press conference when he retired, he never mentioned Jimmy. There was an adversarial relationship, and Jimmy had had enough. So fast forward a little bit longer, Jimmy said this: "If I were you, I would try to get Troy Aikman." There was a deal in place to get Aikman out of retirement to be the quarterback for 2 years in Miami for Dave Wannstedt. Because I think they had guys like Cleo Lemon and some other guy down there. I can't remember who they had. Jay Fiedler. And it came this close. Aikman at the end said, because Aikman, remember, he retired because of concussions. And Aikman was all for running the ball. He was later in his years. But Aikman said, I want one jersey. I'm going to retire Cowboy. I don't want to have another jersey. I don't want to play for anybody else. So Troy, at the 23rd hour, said no to the Miami Dolphins. Not many people know that. But Troy Aikman had a contract, and he was thinking of coming out of retirement. I think Troy since has made a comment that the Dolphins, he was close to signing with the Miami Dolphins. And he was going to and he was going to play. So that's the story of Marino. They never built a run game in Miami around him. That's why they failed. Do you get this? Correct, Kyle. That's exactly right. And Elway bought it. They got Terrell Davis, and that's why Elway won those 2. They won those 2 because Elway agreed with Mike Shanahan. You're right. We got to run the ball. Got to run the ball. Can't throw the ball. Got to run the ball. Well, that's kind of where the Eagles are right now. Okay? I mean, Aikman didn't remember playing one Super Bowl. I think he got hurt in a playoff game. And I think it was the Super Bowl at the Rose Bowl against the Bills. Or it might have been the one, I can't remember, the following year from that one that he said that he didn't remember playing in the Super Bowl. He had a really big concussion. Yeah, he had a really big concussion issue, as Steve Young did at the end of his career too. Sills, Troy also told a story about how Andy Reid reached out to him to fill in for McNabb during 2000, I believe. I believe that. I believe Andy. I know Andy has great respect for Troy Aikman. I know that for a fact. Tremendous respect. Sills, what is worse, Allen never being able to make it to a Super Bowl or Jim Kelly 4 Super Bowls? Man, never getting there, I think, has to be the worst. I think at least getting your 4 swings. You're there at least. And it takes a team effort. That's a politician's answer, Walter. Yeah, I never getting there. Never being able to have a chance to get there would probably be the worst. I mean, I don't think you realize how many great Hall of Famers have never been there because of shitty teams. Like, Myles Garrett's never getting there unless he changes teams. He's never getting there. Jim Kelly, who's been on here numerous times, I always introduce him as AFC champion, 4-time AFC champion. As a matter of fact, you're never going to see that again. Four times a team gets to the Super Bowl? No way. Man, if they would have just won one, it would have solidified that entire dynasty. It would have been a dynasty. Nobody's going to do the kind of winning that those guys did. What did they go? So what did they go? They went 3-3. So they went 12-4. And they lost the last game. In that time, right? They went 12-4 during that time, those 4 Super Bowls in the playoffs. 12-4, and you lose the one game. You lose the Super Bowl 4 times, and you do it consecutively. I agree with you, Coyote. That's got to be painful. I don't care what anybody says. You go 12-4 in the playoffs in 4 years. Nobody's done that. Nobody's won 12 games in a row. Or nobody's won 12 games in 4 years. I don't even think the Patriots have done that. During that Brady run, 12-4 is freaking crazy great. Getting there and losing it is the worst feeling. Now, that's true too. Again, just, it's crazy. I'll give you guys, again, I never got to a Super Bowl, but I got to championship games. So I got to a championship game, obviously, twice in college. And we got to, actually 3 times we went to a championship game. We lost 2. And we won 1. I got to a championship game in the pros, but it wasn't in the NFL. It was in the NFL's Europe. We got to a championship game. We were something like 9. We were like 10-2. And then we played in Montreal. And that's the team that Goldberg was on. And also a bunch of NFL guys were on it. What's his name? Quarterback for the Lions. You guys remember? What was his name? Guy who quarterbacked the Lions. It was our quarterback in Orlando. And we were up 17-6 or something at the half, and we lost. They came back and beat us. That stunk. So that we were up. I was going to win a championship in the pros, and we were that close to winning. And there was about 65,000 there that night. No, not Kramer. What was his name? He played at Utah, and he played for the Dolphins. Actually, all league, kid. Thank you. I can't remember what that guy's name was. Oh, man, he backed up Marino. He backed up Marino in Miami, and then he got to Detroit. and he became a starting quarterback in Detroit. Yeah, I would think losing those 4 Super Bowls. I know Jim has said it numerous times, that he, Scott Mitchell. That's it. Thank you, guys. Yeah, Scott Mitchell. He was the quarterback of our team. He signed a big time deal. James Harrison played in that league. Yeah, he was in the World League. I think James Harrison's a Hall of Fame player. Kind of hard to remember Lions quarterbacks. Yeah. Cosmo Kramer. Yeah. Scott Mitchell was pretty good, dude. He was a pretty good player. He was. Philly beat him in the playoffs. Oh, Philly beat Scott Mitchell? That's right. They beat that Detroit team. Detroit had some pretty good teams back in the 90s under Wayne Fontes. I was on that. I was on one of those Detroit teams for a little bit. Yeah, those Detroit teams were good. That's when Lomas was on there. Seals, the 70s Vikings with Tarkington and the Purple People Eaters lost 4. He didn't lose 4. He lost 3. Joe Kapp was the other quarterback for the Vikings that lost the Super Bowl. True Tarkington lost 3. The Purple People Eaters did lose 4, though, with Page and Eller and Marshall and them dudes. Yeah. I forget the other guy's name. Larson, I think his name was. They lost 4. The Purple People Eater. Alan Page is one of the greatest players of all time. Jason, let's see here. I was like 10. Fishing Maniac, great. Sills, is that the new Miami swag? I don't have it yet. I'm still trying to get a hold of Mario. Mario's on the road. I have not. I've sent him a text 3 times. I go, hey, I need new gear. Hey, I need new gear. I haven't got new gear in over a year. I usually get new gear every year. So even in the cap era, the Niners been to 5, I think. The Niners, when they were run by John McVay and by Bill Walsh, and they set that all up. John McVay, that's the grandfather of Sean McVay. When they set that all up, it was one of the greatest franchises of all time. Just great. That's after 82. I think 84. I think 86. And I think there was another one because they won 5 Super Bowls. So they've won 5. 94 was Young's year. 94 was Steve Young. They beat the Chargers in 94. 2012, they lost to the Ravens. That was Kaepernick. 19, they lost to the Chiefs, and then 23, they lost to the Chiefs. So you lost to Natty, and that was painful. I imagine no different. Yeah, it's still to this day. Losing that national championship because, as I've told you guys, that was the Jerome and I were on that team together. And losing that one, we would have been considered the greatest team in the history of college football. And we had just killed everybody. We were giving up 1.4 yards per play against the run. I think there was only 4 first. Get this. I think we only gave up 4 rushing touchdowns that year. Something crazy. Like 4 rushing touchdowns. We gave up. It was like 1.9 yards per rush against us. You couldn't run the ball on us. Jerome and I were so offended by anyone who could run the ball. I think our DB, Benny Blades, had 10 or 11 picks that year. Stubbs had 17 sacks. I mean, that defense was just – I think we had 50 sacks in 12 games. If you count the bowl game, which they do now, we had 49 to end the year, and we had like 6 in the championship game. So we had like 55 sacks. in 12 games. It was a destructive team. It's the most, I've never been on anything like it. Guys we took quarterbacks out. We broke quarterbacks up. Nobody was close to us. Like I said, we held that Penn State team to 150 yards in offense, lost. 7 turnovers doomed us. We couldn't get over. We could overcome 6. We couldn't overcome the 7th turnover. They had like 5 interceptions and 2 fumbles. We just couldn't overcome it. Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I sent I sent D Brown happy birthday to his pop today. So when they go see the grave today over in Brooksville, it's where he's buried. Make sure you said Big Sil said hi. So yeah, this is a great football team too. It's a great football team. Sil's out of the 2001 Miami class. Who was the best first rounder in that draft? 17 of the first rounders were Miami kids. It's crazy. Shows you the talent in South Florida. The 2001 Canes team. The best guy off that 2001 Hurricanes. So that was the 2002 NFL draft. The 2002 NFL draft, the best Hurricane. Bryant McKinney went. Philip Buchanan went. Ed Reed. Clinton Portis was great. Whew. How many guys went in that draft from Miami? McKinney went 1. Here's 1, 2. Jeremy Shockey went. There's 3, 4, 5. There were 5 guys, 6 Miami Hurricanes. 2000. That 2000 team. So 2001 draft. I think that's the draft you're talking. Dan Morgan went. Damian Lewis went. Santana Moss went. Reggie Wayne went. Miami had, in 2 drafts, Miami had 12 first rounders. Consecutive years. That 2002 team had a bunch of kids that went in the draft. That 3 draft, too. Andre Johnson, Hall of Famer. Jerome McDougal went in the first round. Willis McGahee went in the first round. Willem Joseph went in the first round. So in 3 drafts, Miami had 19 guys drafted in the first round. Wow. That's all Butch Davis, too. On that 2001 team. Get this. That's one of the craziest lines I've ever seen. That 2001 championship team that Miami had, if they didn't score an offensive point, they still would have went 8-4. Because they scored on defense. They would have went 8-4 with no offensive points. Yeah, he was really great. Just thinking of Jerome. Were you at the walkout Penn State dinner and fatigues? So I've told some of you the story. So we're getting ready to do the we had to meet, and this was one of the few times that Penn State and Miami were we were together. And of course, those dorks wore those white sweats. They wanted to be looked at as the white guys and the white shining armor guys. We are, of course, Jimmy had us in black sweats. Our name was on it. I got a bunch of pictures of me. It got our names on it. Completely black, nothing white. We were dressed in black. So we go to this steak fry. It's in Phoenix. Jerome sitting there, man. He's like, we're getting ready to go up. So what does he do? Underneath the gear, he's got the stuff he walked off the airplane in, the battle fatigues. And so I go, all right, what are you going to say? And he goes, I'm going to talk about the attack on Pearl Harbor. And I went, well, you know who won, right? And he goes, the Americans. I go, no. The Japanese. And this was my mistake. I go like this. I go, no, the Japanese won Pearl Harbor. He goes, no, they didn't. I go, the Japanese won Pearl Harbor. He didn't believe me. I go, dude. He goes, are you sure? I go, the Japanese won Pearl Harbor. We won the war. You don't know this? I don't know if you might want to use this reference. And he goes, no, I got it. I go, okay. And hey, and so Jerome, I'm sitting there and I go, I looked over at Tolbert Bain, Reuben Bain's uncle. And I looked at him, I go, you think he fucks this thing up? And Reuben goes, Big Sills, what do you think? And he had this real deep voice, like a baritone. I go, there's no way he gets this right. There's no way. I'm sitting there, man. I'm watching this. He gets up on stage. Penn State had talked about, they made fun of Jimmy Johnson's hair. Some shit. It was stupid and dorky, and they were all dorks. By the way, I'm very good friends with many of these guys. So I'm watching this. Jerome gets up there. He gets the microphone, and he goes, hey, man, when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, they sit down with the Americans before they attacked. I looked at him. I looked at Tolbert Bain. I go, why would he reference us? The Japanese lost the war, dude. And he's sitting there going, no, they just attacked. And I'm like, great, we're the Japanese. And I looked, I put my hand on it. And I went, holy shit. In Arizona, where it's like a real big military area, and I'm going like, oh my God, he just compared us to the Japanese. The fucking Japanese lost the war. And I'm going like, I looked over at everyone and I'm like, he goes, did you see what I go, yeah, you fucking told everyone we're going to lose the war tomorrow night. And we're walking. He goes, no, you told me the Japanese. I go, I told you they won Pearl Harbor, not won the war. Yeah. He's walking out. He goes, well, you should have stopped me. I go, I tried to. I told you, man. No, you should have said some shit like Iwo Jima or something. And the guy's being, God dang you. And I'm like, bro, I told you not to fucking say that. Nope. Yep. Dude, I mean, oh my God. There was so many times with shit like that. Oh. Now, my favorite is when Parcells called Sims and said, Philly's getting JB, so be prepared for a lot of pain. That's actually true. Actually true. I know. Hey, listen, in honor of my friend, again, I'm going to take a little time here. Tell you, because a lot of people some of the people haven't heard those stories, but yeah, man. Just a tremendous, today's his birthday. Today is your 8th anniversary of you winning your Super Bowl. And let me tell you, a lot of memories came back today. And like I said, guys, when I was sitting there, and we were sitting in Norman, Oklahoma, and this was after that Oklahoma game, he breaks Aikman's leg. And I'm just sitting there like this. I'm sitting there like this. I'm like this. I played good. And I'm going like this. Jerome sits next to me. He goes, what's the matter? I said, no matter what I do, I will never do it. And I will tell you, I was great at Miami. I was a great player, and no shame saying that. I was a great player at UM. But I knew right there that I would never be that great. I just, you have an epiphany in a moment. You go like this. no matter what I do, no matter how great I'll play. And I had games of 15 tackles and 2 sacks and shit like that. But this guy broke Aikman's legs, 2 sacks, interception, block punt, block field goal, 20 tackles, 8 tackles for losses, fumble recovery. And I'm sitting there in my locker going, you had to be there. It was like a tornado. And I looked at him. He just started laughing. He put his hand on my shoulder and he goes, I go, shut up. And I just sat there and I was like, dude, I'll never in a million years ever be that good. It's just, I've never seen anything like that. It's crazy. And when he got to Philly, you know, the coolest thing for me was when I was coached for 2 weeks of my life by Buddy Ryan. And it was really because of Jerome that I got coached for 2 weeks by, and it made me clearly a better player. I told you guys, Buddy would come down. One year he came down just for me. The year previous, he had come down to talk to Jerome, but they had told him, and he had seen game film on me, and he goes, Sileo, come with me. So for about 2 hours, we sat in a room. Jimmy Johnson was in the back with Butch, and there we are. I'm here, Jerome's here, and Buddy Ryan's in the middle. And we're sitting here like this, and he's got, back then you had like a 0 clicker. You can like, so he's doing this. He's going back and forth. We must have went over one play 30 times. He's talking about head, hand, placement, talking about foot movement. You see your right foot? You see it was so like, you see your right foot? It's too flat. That's too flat. If you're going to get flat like that against better people, they're going to slip and scoop you. I said, okay. He goes, you got to make that foot a little tighter. So all the things, we're writing notes down, Jerome and I. I'm writing notes down. You're taking too flat a foot on that gap crash. So I would write down too flat a foot on gap crash. Butch is in the back doing the same thing. Butch Davis went on and win 3 Super Bowls. And we're sitting here. Remember, this is the guy who created the 46. So I'm sitting here and I'm writing all this stuff down that Buddy's telling me. He goes, by the way, you see your head up there? You're beat. Before the play's even snapped. What are you thinking? I said, and the coach in the background goes like this. He goes, he's lined up wrong. He looked at me and he goes, you know, that's the dumbest thing you could ever have happen to a player is not knowing the technique. If you don't know the technique, when you get to the NFL, you line up like that, you'll get your face knocked in. 93. If you don't, he called me 93 in the first meeting. He goes, 93. If you don't do line up like that, a guy like Russ Graham will kill you. I said, okay. Because you could do that against these kids in college. You do that in the pros, you get run off the field and put on your back. I told Steve McMichael the same shit. He used to do that because you're a strong man, right? He goes, screw that. I don't give a shit. You're a strong man. Get in the 3 technique. You're lined up in a shade 1. It was so like this. He was talking to me the difference between success and this. Then he came down the following year, and I didn't know why I was there. He came, I'm here for you. And I'm like, okay. So he brought me and Stubbs in the room, and we went and we did the same thing. Dan, you see this? And I was like, oh, Dan. Last year I was 93. Now I'm Dan. Dude, having Buddy Ryan for those 2 weeks coach me. I've been coached by Jimmy, Butch, Buddy Ryan, Tom Landry. I've been coached by some of the greatest. Ray Perkins, whatever you think of Ray. Ray drafted Lawrence Taylor. I've been coached by some of the greatest coaches of all time. And to have him like that, sit there, we 2 hours for 2 hours for 5 days. I had that. I had film session with Buddy Ryan. One week, and then the following year, another week. So 2 weeks of my life, Buddy had me, and he was coaching me for 20 hours. He was showing me how to play the defensive tackle position and 3 technique. And he goes, see, because you're 6'1", because that's going to help you on leverage. But remember, when you get wider, that's going to hurt you in leverage. Why? Because when you're in space like that, size, wins. Even if you're strong and you can lift that guy up and throw him back on his ass, he's still going to keep you from getting up. So you got to get penetration. So wide down in that 3 a little more. It was really crazy. Buddy Ryan was a savant, man. He was just a great, great coach. And it was really wonderful to be coached by him. Seals, lots of respect for your passion for Jerome. I love the man. He's one of my best friends. You know, I told you how cool the story was when, you know, he came to my grandpa's house and 9:30 at night, he comes to my pop's house. I got Tolbert Bain again. I got Darryl Fullington, and we got Selwyn Brown, and we have Lonzo Highsmith. So we go to my grandpa's house, or they knock on my door at 9:30. I live down in the Cove. It's this Italian area in Stanford. And my grandfather goes, "Who are these guys?" I said, "It's Jerome Brown." He's like, "What?" "Well, bring him in." And so I go, "Get in here." He goes, "You got any food?" So my grandma sits down, like my wife did, and she brings the meatballs out. I don't know, Jerome made about 10 of them. And everybody, we're eating there. My grandpa goes down and gets all the beers. I don't know, we must have drank 25 beers that night till 3 o'clock in the morning. And my grandfather, you know, these guys leave, and and he goes, "These guys were phenomenal." I go, "What do you think they came here to do? Steal hubcaps?" Like, and he goes like, and he's like, no. I go, "What? Because they're black guys in what, Italian neighborhood? What do you think they were gonna do?" And he goes, "No, my grandfather loved Jerome." And it was really great. One thing I'll tell you about going to Miami, and I say this to people all the time, it was the greatest lesson in my life on how to live with other cultures. I get down to Miami. Jerome took me around numerous places, Overtown, Liberty City. Here's another great thing that he would do. So we would stop at a park in Overtown. This is like the ghetto. Jerome would open up his trunk, and in the back, he would have shoulder pads, shoes. He'd have food. He'd have money. He would have like footballs. He would have cones, and he would give them to these kids. We did this 3 straight days in the off season. So he goes, "Sileo, make sure you wear your jersey." And then he would come to agree. That's when he dropped the line on me. Italian guys don't run that fast. So, okay. So we were handing out all these items to these inner city kids. And this was Jerome doing this out of his own pocket. I'm sure donations. This is where we met Luther Campbell. And we were like at Seabreeze, was a place down in South Florida. And we would do security for like NWA, and Luther would open, and or NWA would open, and then Luther, and then we would work like security. And so I worked security for those guys. It was pretty fun, man. Jerome was a really giving guy. All those communities, he must have given thousands and thousands of dollars away in equipment to kids who didn't have shit or cleats. He used to give cleats away. By the way, he would go around to all our lockers. Because, you know, back then, for some reason, Nike, like in my locker, I tell my daughter this. My daughter's got like, you know, I didn't realize how much cleats cost. So I would have like 40, 50 pairs of cleats in my locker that I never used. So I just packed the boxes up. And I would use like 3 or 4 of them a year. And if I needed them, I'd go into a box. And plus I had shoes. Nike sent me shoes and all kinds of shit. And I would wear them. So Jerome would come over to me and go, "Hey, how many of them cleats you want to give me?" I go, "How many do you want?" He goes, "Give me 10 of them." I said, "Here, take 10. Take different sizes. Take some shoes too, whatever. I don't care." So he would go and he would take all of our, you know, Nike would give him more shit. We'd take more shit. So back then, Nike gave us everything. I mean, guys, if I told you I had 25 pairs of shoes every 6 months, that might be an understatement. They gave us everything because we were always on TV. Always. That was great. I think Milton is going to dominate that O-line. I think the Seahawks have a pretty good O-line. I do. A lot of people don't know Buddy coached the D-line and linebackers from the Jets at 68 to 75. That's correct. He did. And he won that Super Bowl in 1969 as the Jets. Yeah. Okay, 61. Got you. That's awesome, Sills. Appreciate you guys, man. Okay. Idiots like call Sills a racist. Some people don't even know. Yeah, Denny. How would they know? They're just internet readers. They don't know me from a can of paint. I mean, how would they know? Right? How would they know? They wouldn't know. I mean, right? How would they? They would never know that. I mean, man, I love my team so much, even though the struggles. We've had some of the greatest defensive players in history. JB is still great to me. He was Sapp before Sapp. He was better than Sapp. I say this all the time, Denny. Warren Sapp is a great football player. And he's maybe arguably one of the greatest three-technique pass rushers of all time. But Jerome was better. Reggie was just there's Lawrence Taylor, and then there's Lawrence Taylor and Reggie, and then there's everyone else. Ed Reed's probably right there. It goes Reggie, LT, Ed Reed, and then everyone else. Ed Reed's just a special dude. Seals, would you say are the top three all-time college football games? Is Vince Young that was one of the all-time greatest games? I think the 83 national title, we beat upset Nebraska 31-30, is in that conversation. I don't know. I'm partial to our games because they were all like some of the most viewed games of all time. Like I played in the most watched college football game of all time. So I don't know how that's not in there, but Seals, if Clint Hurt would ask you to be his D-line coach, would you do it? No, but if you asked me to be the D-line coach for the University of Miami, I would. Okay? Something different. Mario, I convinced him to leave Oregon, and so did 5 other guys. Phil Knight had the money lined up for him. He didn't want to leave. But we all said this, where are you from? And I said this to Mario. I go, where are you from? He goes, South Florida. Your mother and father were Mario boatlift guys. Right? And he goes, yeah. And I go, okay. So there were Cuban refugees from Castro. He goes, yeah. What are you doing in Oregon when Miami wants you to play? And they're going to pay them more money to come here. And you played there and won 2 national titles. He goes, that's what everyone else is saying. He goes, you think the school's going to back me? I go, make them. You know, you make people do shit, make them pay you. Seals, you see Derrick Henry trying to recruit A.J. Brown to Baltimore? A.J. Brown for Hamilton, yes, please. Yeah, well, they're not getting rid of Hamilton. So A.J. Brown in Baltimore with Zay Flowers on the other side. Hey, A.J. Brown in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson. Shit. Hey, by the way, I'm convinced AJ's gone. I don't want him gone. I'm 100% against it. But he's gone. No way. And get this. So you mean to tell me the only reason that A.J. Brown is going to stay in Philly is because of money? Yeah, that'll make him happy. Right? The only reason that he's here is because of money. I heard John say that today. The money. He's not wrong. The money's the issue, or he'd have been gone sooner. The money is the issue. And the Eagles, if they get this, if you trade him and don't post-June it, you don't get to pick this year. I think Golden State, dude. I think, I don't think Daryl Morey pulls that deal off. No way. I think he's in Golden State. One last nugget for Steph Curry. I think they send him to Golden State. I think Draymond's in Milwaukee. Draymond Green will go from Golden State to Milwaukee. I think he goes. Money can't buy you happiness. No, but he can buy you peace of mind. He'll buy you peace of mind. See here. Giannis stays. Don't think they're ready to give him up yet. Boy, I'll tell you, I would not in a million years give up on Giannis if I'm Milwaukee. No way. Too bad we have all these geeks covering the team like ESP who doesn't know anything who played before the Andy Reid years. Dude, Philadelphia has had a phenomenal history. And the fan base is sick and great. It's a great fan base. Like I told you earlier, the reason your radio stations are so dominant, it's not your shitty host. It's the fans. You keep regurgitating the same dudes over and over. Guy gets fired, he's there. Guy now goes there, he's over there. They think because he's on a different shift, they're going to be better. No. You know what it is? They're from Philly. They cover Philly. They know the history of the Eagles. And again, that's why you keep regurgitating the same guys. When's the last time? Who was the guy? Josh Innes? Like on the radio side? Isn't he like the last outsider you guys brought in? Was Josh Innes? That's the last guy you guys brought in from somewhere else, right? I can't think of anybody else in the last 10 years that you guys brought in on your radio station that was from out. The morning guy was in Atlanta forever, but he had covered the Flyers for a long time. So there was a tie there. Most of the guys are either born in Philly or from Philly. Okay. How do you convince AJ to stay? Tell him the offense goes through him now. Tell him it goes through him. NFL does the same shit. Yes. Yes. And NFL does the same stuff. You're so right about. I mean, look, it's the same guys. I'll tell you, I like you. Yeah, get this. He tried recruiting me for Atlanta when he was down there at 680 CNN. They were trying to hire me to do the mornings when I was on in Tampa. They wanted me to come up. They offered me a job at the end of the day, 23rd hour. I go, yeah, I don't think so. Because I was doing like 13 shares in the morning. I had the number one radio show, ratings-wise, on the East Coast for like 3 years. Nobody had higher ratings. And we were doing very well. And CNN called me. WCNN called me. It was a Cumulus company. They wanted me to do morning drive. And Kincaid and Blue, it was. They had a show there in Atlanta. And they took me out. They took me around. I did a show with them. I did afternoon drive with them. I sat there. I went, and his name was David Dickey. And then I met Lou, I forget his name, from Cumulus, who owned Cumulus at the time. I went in his office. We sat down, and he asked me, he goes, would you like to be the morning drive host in Atlanta? And I said, it was good money. But I was like, yeah, at the end of the day, I think I'm staying where I'm at. Because then the following year, I got syndicated by Premier Radio. And I went to Fox Sports Radio, and I went to Premier in Los Angeles. Kincaid has to have pics of people doing yeah, I've listened to him. I don't get it. I mean, he was better He was better in Atlanta. I wanted Brian Branch. Brian Branch is a hell of a player. Hell of a player. Shields, you think Garrett retires a Brown? 41 million reasons why I think he does. All right, guys, let me pay some bills here. Our number one friends at Morgan & Morgan with over $30 billion recovered. Please do me a favor. If you've ever been injured on the job, I'm telling you, I promise you, this family-owned company has been in business for over 25 years. And the reason that they're number one is because they win. Simple as that. Go to forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. That's forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529 and do me a favor. You tell them Big Sales sent you.
There's a reason Detective Johnson is the gossip king.
Oh, did you hear? Jackie and Tom
are getting a divorce? Sad.
Well, I heard that Ashley
had work done on her face? Yeah, oof.
Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. Injured? With over $25 billion recovered for our clients, there's a reason to go big.
Bathroom? Okay.
Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Oh, okay.
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is Eric. When he got injured in a car accident, he called Morgan & Morgan. He not only gets a lawyer, he gets trial lawyers like Sam and Jessica, who are in it to win it. He gets his own investigators with briefcases, leather ones. And if you ever have questions, our customer service folks keep things rolling. Injured? We're your army. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Shot Takers and the Tastemakers. Welcome to the Viewfinders, the Thrill Seekers, and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We go the extra mile to lend a helping hand.
Thank you.
We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong. We've been deeply rooted in our communities for more than 85 years. And that connection to members has earned us our spot as the #1 health insurer in the region. So while you look out for your neighbors, know IBX is always looking out for you.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Man, Frank Reich takes that Jets job. I mean, you got to think Aaron Glenn is on a respirator there, right? Now, maybe he thinks he becomes the head football coach of the New York Jets if he gets fired. And they don't even have a quarterback yet, right? Who are they going to bring in there? Who are they drafting? Are they going to get Mac Jones? Yet to be seen here what they do in New York and who Frank even coaches. All right. Appreciate you guys very much. Thank you again. Super Bowl, we'll get more into the game also for Sunday, Patriots and Seahawks, 2 to 6 tomorrow. And we'll see you on the flip side.